In the ruthless world of survival, the battle for life and death takes on infinite forms. The endless struggle to eat and avoid being eaten has created weapon and defense systems that are continually evolving. Nature offers dazzling displays by both the hunter and the hunted, and those that are best at the game escape from the very jaws of death. The small horned shark seems oblivious to the superbly camouflaged angel shark that lies in wait. But the predator finds that it has bitten off more than it can chew. Though it may appear that the horned shark is finished, it has actually been coughed up and left stunned but unhurt. The predator has somehow been defeated by the harmless-looking prey. The angel shark is left still hungry, but much the wiser. How did the much smaller fish survive? Subtle but strategically placed spines along its dorsal fins made an indelible impression on the angel shark when it bit down upon its intended meal. The balance of power in nature is continually shifting. Sometimes it favors the hunter, and at other times the hunted. There is an evolutionary arms race at work, one that has been escalating for several thousand million years. In this contest, the mouse is unaware that it's being tracked by the rattlesnake's impressive detection system. The snake has evolved infrared heat-sensing receptors between its eyes and nostrils. It can find its prey with a sense that goes beyond touch, sight, or smell. It compares the heat-formed image from one receptor with that of the other. The information is used to keep its prey in its sights with deadly precision. With the target coming into range, the snake shoots venom through its folded fangs, which spring forward as it strikes. And the mouse has lost the game. It is an ability similar to that found in some animals like the horseshoe bat, which uses ultrasound to search for food such as this moth. The bat, like a living radar system, fires off high-frequency sounds, which are decoded by his brain when they bounce back from nearby objects. Many moths cannot escape the bat's sophisticated weaponry and pay the ultimate price for their less advanced defense systems. The bat's attack system is not infallible, however. Some moths have evolved ways of dealing with their predator's tactics. This moth has small ears that can hear the pulse of the bat's signal. When the bat closes in, the moth responds with evasive action by simply plummeting to the ground. The range of survival techniques in the natural world is enormous, spanning the wonderfully complex to the very basic. The tiny African bush baby improves its chances for survival by foraging at night when it is harder to see. Excellent nocturnal eyesight gives it an edge as a predator. But the bush baby has its own enemies within its African environment, which can also see very well in the dark. When pursued, the bush baby's powerful legs are its lifesaver, propelling it to safety. Few, if any, predators could reach it now. Weather, as well as terrain, plays a part in how animals adapt. Those that live in severe climates must be well suited to the demands of the environment. The mottled plumage of the ptarmigan makes them almost invisible to predators. But it serves another purpose as well. The feathers protect the bird from the extreme cold by trapping body heat. The bird also grows long feathers on its feet for the winter, which act like built-in snowshoes. Undoubtedly, the feathers provide effective camouflage. There are at least 5 birds in this scene. When the snow disappears, so too does the winter plumage of the ptarmigan. Its summer outfit is well designed for the changing environment. The young ptarmigans are in special need of good camouflage. Since they cannot fly as well as the adults, they must protect themselves in times of threat by crouching and hiding among the rocks, moss, and wildflowers. Camouflage is virtually all the protection they have among the craggy rocks of the Pacific Northwest. An even more elaborate survival system is found among the leaves of the oak tree, home to creatures including a variety of birds and a small, unimpressive-looking moth. In the springtime, it lays its eggs on the underside of the leaves, where they are less likely to be found by any hungry passers-by. When the caterpillars hatch, they begin a treacherous journey. Those that survive make straight for the oak tree's blossoms, called catkins. As they feed hungrily upon the catkins, they absorb the chemicals within them. This triggers a startling transformation. Quite literally, the caterpillar is what it eats, for it becomes a superb catkin mimic, even aping their movement in the spring breeze. The disguise allows many of the caterpillars to mature safe from predatory birds. But the story doesn't stop there. In the summer, another set of caterpillars is hatched. By now, the catkins have fallen and the caterpillars feed on the leaves instead. But there are different chemicals within the foliage now, which set off a completely different reaction. This time, the nondescript caterpillars take on the image of the oak twigs rather than the blossoms. To its great advantage, the same species has shown a striking capacity for variation. The pressure of natural selection, or survival of the fittest, is an irresistible force shaping all of nature. Whichever individuals live to reproduce pass on their useful traits to succeeding generations. This is the essence of evolution. As a general rule, the more closely you match your environment, the better your chances are of surviving. The genetic combinations that result in camouflage like this are the product of an incalculable number of hits and misses. Evolution is trial and error, a process of elimination that shapes species to respond best to the challenges of their environment. It is selection pressure alone, the natural process of what lives and what dies, that drives a species along its evolutionary course. Consider the immense number of individuals that have existed over the eons to create the stunning diversity of life. It is one of the true miracles of nature. Adaptations can be remarkably specific to the environment. A praying mantis looks dangerously out of place on the forest floor, easy pickings for any nearby predators. But a disappearing act takes place when the mantis reaches the blossoms of the Asian orchid. So closely does it resemble its surroundings that other insects sometimes search for nectar on its body. Those that do may pay for their mistake with their lives. The unbroken reaches of the desert seem to offer little in the way of protection or places to hide. Even here, though, natural selection has resulted in some very effective adaptations. The desert viper can transform itself from obvious to almost invisible, where it then lies in wait for potential prey. The lizard is no match at all for the deceptions of the snake. The sandy bottom of the ocean floor can also hide its inhabitants. This Caribbean flounder makes good use of the seabed, using it as a blind which shields it from view. Only its bizarre turret-like eyes are left exposed to spot a likely meal. Its Picasso-esque looks may be unusual, but they work superbly in these surroundings. In a very different sort of marine habitat, the creatures have adapted accordingly, hiding among the abundant sargassum seaweed. Over the millennia, some startling mimics have evolved among both predator and prey. This shrimp fits in quite well in its environment. The frogfish, however, is one of the best when it comes to camouflage, and makes quick work of the more obvious shrimp. Other sea creatures are less passive in their masquerades and take matters into their own extremities. The crab is not naturally well camouflaged, but it uses bits of seaweed to decorate its shell and so merge easily into its surroundings. In the world of do-it-yourself camouflage, this crab is a master. Like some alien undersea fashion designer, it labors to create illusion, using a hapless anemone as its raw material. Not only is it now camouflaged, but the stinging cells of the anemone will offer an extra measure of protection. This decorator crab approaches its costume drama with surgical precision. Its new look is designed not to attract the wrong kind of attention. Not all animals seek to disguise, however. Some, in fact, appear to be announcing their presence to the world. But there is a method in their seeming madness. These creatures are issuing a loud and clear warning with colors that signal distastefulness or even danger. But how do other animals know that bright colors may mean trouble? Most find out the hard way, by bitter experience. This ladybird beetle is about to undergo a dangerous test. The young pheasant has never tasted ladybird before. It quickly discovers the noxious substance the bug secretes. After this encounter, red and black insects should be off limits to the pheasant for good. But in the evolutionary arms race, you win some and you lose some. The ladybird's warning colors are no deterrent to the parasitic ichneumon wasp. It approaches like a swordsman ready to duel, but what appears to be only its stinger is actually also its egg-laying structure. The wasp deposits a single egg inside the ladybird. A few weeks pass and the egg hatches inside the affected ladybird. Slowly it becomes paralyzed as the ichneumon larvae begins to feed on it from the inside out. Eventually, the alien possession is completed. Like some malevolent beast from within, the mature wasp emerges from the cocoon attached to its now dead host. The adult females will soon seek out another unfortunate ladybird. There are other insidious schemes afoot in the natural world, even in the most peaceful settings. Inside a reed warbler's nest, the parents are making preparations for the hatching of their young. But a menacing figure lurks nearby. A cuckoo lies in wait for just the right moment. When the reed warbler flies off, the cuckoo wastes no time. In moments, the bird has replaced one of the reed warbler's eggs with one of its own, much larger ones. The warbler never notices the change and broods the imposter. The cuckoo chick hatches first and acts instinctively to eliminate the competition. Secure in the undivided attention of its foster parents, it feeds voraciously and grows rapidly. In just a few days, the adult warblers are dwarfed by their charge, but remain unaware of the dire switch that has been pulled. In the days before the cuckoo strikes out on its own, the comparison between adult and young becomes grotesque. It is thought that the female cuckoo learns to recognize the songs of its host, which aids it in seeking out another warbler nest the following year. There are countless curious adaptations to be seen in various habitats of the world. In the salt waters of the ocean, an extraordinary strategy has evolved in the creature called the anemone fish. It takes refuge among the stinging anemone, which is capable of paralyzing creatures with its tentacles. The anemone fish is immune to the deadly toxins, however. It is covered with a layer of mucus just like that which coats the anemone. This prevents the anemone from detecting the fish and activating its stinging cells within its tentacles. How the anemone fish gets its protective coating, whether by secreting it or rubbing against the anemone itself, is unknown. No other fish are quite so lucky. Even more bizarre is the spectacle of the rainbow sea slug of the Pacific coast. It insinuates its way over to a tube-dwelling anemone, which resembles a submarine palm tree rather than the animal it actually is. The anemone is the sea slug's only food source. These two primitive beings are locked in an age-old relationship of predator and prey. One quick stroke, the slug shears the tentacles off the anemone in a kind of barbarous undersea haircut. As the slug feeds, it absorbs the tiny stinging cells of the anemone, which will grow back its crowning glory. The cells are transported to the feathery tips of the sea slug's body, where they will repel attackers. The creature has gotten a meal and acquired an effective deterrent as well. Safety in numbers is another common strategy in use in nature, both undersea and elsewhere. Few animals go as far as this African weaver bird, however. Its flocks contain millions of individuals, a confusing if impressive spectacle for any predators. Hit by sensory overload, the black kite simply can't single out which bird to attack. Sometimes cooperation is the key to success. The small African meerkat lives in groups that keep lookouts posted at all times, with the adults taking turns at guard duty. Under such vigilance, the other meerkats can feed in peace and the young are well protected. If danger is spotted, the lookouts immediately signal the alarm. The members of the group have time enough to retreat to the safety of their underground den. Avoiding detection is a major strategy in the fight for survival. But what if you are found? What defenses has nature provided then? This delicate hair-streaked butterfly is also known as the back-to-front butterfly. It has a false head at the rear of its body, larger than its real head. Predators are misdirected to attack the less vital area. Iridescence can also confuse a hunter, startling or distracting it so that the strike is ineffective. Eye spots are a common defensive tactic. Perhaps they evoke images of danger, or as in the case of the hair-streaked butterfly, they may serve as a decoy. Many predatory birds strike with amazing accuracy, but not always at the vulnerable areas. Better to lose a bit of your wing than to lose your head. For the potu, like so many other animals, camouflage is the first line of defense. If its cover is blown, however, it will attempt to intimidate or surprise with a threat display. A few seconds of disorientation may give the bird the vital time it needs to escape. There are other curious antics in the world of predator and prey, like that of the blue weevil of southern Africa's Namib Desert. defense is hardly more effective than it looks, though the blue weevil has nonetheless managed to become a successful species. Other creatures don't seem so prepared to take things lying down. This tree frog appears destined to become the vine snake's next meal. Its camouflage wasn't good enough to outfox the snake, which is moving in for the kill. When attacked, however, the frog secretes a poisonous mucus from glands on its body. The toxic substance forced the snake to release the frog immediately. A young mountain lion hasn't yet learned about the warning colors of the spotted skunk. For an inquisitive cat, this is something to be investigated. It is one encounter the mountain lion will long remember. Its eyes left irritated and perhaps temporarily blinded by the acrobatic squirting of the skunk. Not every animal has such a strong deterrent at its disposal. If all else fails in the battle for survival, confrontation may be the only recourse. The Thompson's gazelle is a grazing animal, poorly equipped to fight off the predatory jackal. But when its young are threatened, it will defend it any way it can. A heroic effort in the face of what seems like hopeless odds. With only its short little horns, it fights off the relentless and efficient jackals in a heroic display. The first imperative, to survive. Nature has come up with countless ingenious ways for the hunted to escape the hunter, and for the hunter to overtake its prey. In the coming eons, the evolutionary arms race is bound to continue, providing ever more spectacular examples of defenses and weapons, for as long as the Earth itself survives.
We hope you have enjoyed this presentation from the National Geographic Video Library.
Welcome to the Earth's watery kingdom. In these depths, there is only one ruler, and you are his guest. Join a feeding frenzy with a group of white-tipped gray sharks. Explore the ocean's sandy floor for prey with the hammerhead. Your host has many different faces, and you are privileged to witness behavior rarely captured on film. Dive into the unknown realm of our seas for extraordinary shark encounters. A killer roams our oceans. A cunning hunter from whom nothing is safe. They stalk their prey in packs, and where there's food, they dominate. But this is no mindless murderer. The killer whale is curious and intelligent, a creature with a mind